Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts, sports journalist David Todd, and from SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan. Just a couple of Daves, chillin', talking Steelers. Now, here's Dave and Dave.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave. He's Dave Bryan of SteelersDepot.com, the place to get your latest and greatest information. I'm David Todd. It's Season 9, Episode 23. And Dave, the Steelers are 0-1-1. That is a far cry from the potential 5-0 that we were discussing just 2 weeks ago.
And I would have thought, I would have thought at least 2-0, coming out of the chute. I mean, surely they're going to beat Cleveland coming out of the chute. And then you get a second-year quarterback in Patrick Mahomes coming to Heinz Field, where the Steelers and Roethlisberger generally usually are great in regular season home openers. You look at how they played, talking about the Chiefs last week against the Chargers, and even in a win, you thought, man, there's some things here the Steelers can exploit. It ended up being the other way around. There was almost like the Chiefs were the ones watching the Steelers film from last week, and the Steelers took the week off there because Kansas City moved the ball at will on offense, and defensively a matchup that I thought absolutely in the trenches the Steelers should and would win. They didn't, and I call Patrick Mahomes a second-year quarterback. He looked far from that Sunday at Heinz Field.
He was great. And let's just say this right up front, because I just tweeted it. It does not take the Steelers off the hook, the Steelers defense off the hook, to say Pat Mahomes was great and he has better weapons overall than the Steelers do on offense. I'm not giving the defense any cover by saying that, but it's true. And we probably did Sammy Watkins a disservice, or maybe Sammy Watkins did himself a disservice with his play over his first, 3 or 4 years in the league. But he was excellent yesterday, and he's like the fifth guy on that offense that they turn to. Or at best he's the fourth guy that they turn to with Kelsey and Hill, and obviously the running back. And it was just if you're a Chiefs fan, you are absolutely licking your chops. And I don't know, when this is, again, not a comment on Ben, but I don't know when, all these other rookie quarterbacks that got drafted last year are going to get it this year are going to get a chance to see the field. We've seen Sam Darnold a little bit. We've seen Josh Allen a little bit. Who knows when we'll see Mason Rudolph. But I'll tell you, every one of these teams is praying they got a player like Pat Mahomes.
They almost feel like the new Seattle Seahawks, right? Except probably not as good a defense just yet, because you got a young quarterback. You're in that mode right now. You got a young quarterback that plays extremely well. Doesn't look like the game's too big for him at all, and you got him on a cheap contract. So it makes you wonder. Is next year the year that they really load up, maybe with some free agent spending on let's say defensive side of the ball, and maybe an offensive lineman or something like that, because he looked like he was throwing on air. You hear the term throwing on air a lot of times. It's when you some 7-on-7 stuff, and really when there's no defenders out there to defend against. That's really what it looked like at times. He looked really comfortable. He really seemed to throw or to see the field well at times. I thought the game was called by Andy Reid of Bieniemy just absolutely perfectly as far as mixing stuff up with them. They went empty a few times. They really spread the Steelers out with the personnel that they have. Anytime you have one of those guys in Kelsey, obviously probably not in the class as Gronk, but close to it. You hear all the time, me talk about the Patriots, about what they can do, about they can stretch you out or they can condense in, depending on what the opposing defense shows you. They did that multiple times yesterday. They would start off maybe in an empty formation and then condense in from there, depending on what they saw, and then just the opposite. It might start with Hunt in the backfield and then go out empty from there. So really, extraordinarily well done job by the Steelers, by the Chiefs coach and the offensive coaching staff to put Patrick Mahomes in great situations to win. And here's number 5 on my 5 keys to the game that I put out Saturday evening. Make St. Patrick's arm win it. And in so many, in so many words, obviously going into this thing, taking Tyreek Hill out of it was a big thing. You did not want this guy to home run you. And then, the second thing you would think is to just don't let Kareem Hunt, chew you up to death. But the other wide receivers, Sammy Watkins, Chris Conley, DeAnthony Thomas, Travis Kelce, I felt that the Steelers had to make those guys beat them, and boy did they, and boy did they make it easy on those guys to do it at that.
They did it. Like you said, look, they did it with everybody. I mean, you look at the stat sheet, and they loaded it up. I mean, Mahomes' passer rating. Everybody knows the passer rating is 158.3 is a perfect rating. I think Mahomes checked in at 154.6. He threw what did he throw? 3 or 4 incompletions on the day to go with maybe 5 incompletions on the day to go with 6 touchdowns.
I had to keep looking at it because I thought for sure they made a mistake there, but he only missed 5 passes in that game, David. 23 of 28. And I think in the first, the first half? He only missed what was it? Let me pull up his first half stats here. 2 of those incompletions came in the first half. He was 8 of 10. Just 8 of 10 in the first half. 119.
8 of 10 with 21 on the board.
Right. With 3 touchdowns in the book and 119 passing yards.
Yeah, 119. That's the thing. The 119 passing yards, and obviously, look, one of the drives, but because of the punt return was a short drive, but he was hitting on big plays all the time. I mean, you just look at how many plays were run in this game for the 2 teams. You see the difference. I mean, look, Ben threw the ball 60 times. Mahomes threw it 28. It goes back to the stat last week. Is it causation or? When the Steelers throw the ball a lot, Ben has a losing record. When 40 attempts or more, he has a losing record. And obviously, score dictates what you do. And to be honest with you, I would have been fine if the Steelers didn't run the ball one time in the second half because they showed in the second quarter they could move the ball through the air. And, the couple times they got stuffed, run play when they went 3 and out somewhere in the third quarter, and we'll get into this. We'll try to do it with some sense of sequential timeline type of stuff. But look, it's disappointing all around, and Mahomes finished with a QBR, which is a rating of 100, is the perfect score at 97.3. I mean, he played an unbelievable game, and we're going to get on the Steeler defense here, but it is worth noting that Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, and you were dead right to point out Eric Bieniemy. I mean, Andy Reid is known a bit as of a quarterback whisperer and a very creative guy on offense, but maybe not a genius of a head coach because some of his game management issues and some of the defenses, that he had with the various stops he's been with the Eagles and with the Chiefs. But it's hard not to look at this team after what you saw yesterday. They have so much offense to think that they're going to be a contender in the AFC West. I mean, that's so much offense there that they did it. They did it in Week 1. They do it against the Steelers. It's hard to see them a defense just bottling this whole group of guys up.
We talk about liking quarterbacks, especially young ones. The younger ones in today's game that can push the football down the field, that are not afraid to take deep shots. He certainly wasn't. I mean, he was 5 of 8 on passes longer, 16 yards or longer down the field. And how many of those were touchdowns? At least what, 2 of them? Let's see. He had the deep one down the right side to Sammy Watkins, pushed out of bounds for 40 yards. He had the deep middle to Kelsey for I think that was their second touchdown. He had another one, another completion, deep middle to Kelsey, the second touchdown. So both Kelsey touchdowns were deep passes. And I think he had a third one to Tyreek Hill for 20. He did. He had the one in the fourth quarter for that was just wrong. It just blew by Artie Burns on the outside on that one, and he laid it right up in there. So 5 of 8 on deep passes, with 3 of those being touchdowns in that game. And obviously being 5 of 8, that's where 3 of his 5 incompletions came down the field. So that's really acceptable in that category there. So I mean, it was just you go back and you watch this thing 2 or 3 times, and it really did feel like he was throwing on air at times. The Steelers pass rush just really non-existent for most of the game. The secondary looked confused. Well, and probably because they were. The communication, they were getting beat with simple concepts too, David. It wasn't like you're going, oh wow, how creative that was. Look at simple things like that the first touchdown to Kelsey. They just stressed the defense, and specifically looked like John Bostic in the middle of the field there against cover, kind of a cover 2, Tampa cover 2 look there, and it was just pitch and catch.
No doubt it was. And so let's put, like I said, let's try to put some semblance of order to this and go over this, how it actually unfolded as the Steelers offensively in this game. We're gonna.
Hey! Why wouldn't you defer to the Steelers, right?
Well, I don't know. If I have that offense, I want to see him play so much. I'd be eager to get him out in the field. But the Steelers offense in the first 6 plays of the game, the first 2 drives they had, and they were already down 7-0. Their best play was the first play they ran, an incomplete pass deep to James Washington down the left side, which was overthrown and out of bounds. Washington had no chance to catch it. And that was the best of the 6 plays they ran. AB loses 2 yards, and Villanueva is an illegal block. And then the incomplete pass to Vance McDonald. The Steelers obviously give up the ball. And Dave, not that they didn't have enough punting woes to start things. Okay, this wasn't on. This was this. Yeah, not that they didn't have enough punting woes to start things, but they start the game here. And Jordan Berry, look, it wasn't a great punt, but it was directionally exactly what you're supposed to do. Pinned it right on the sideline. But to the Chiefs' credit, and I talk about this all the time, I don't understand why teams don't put up a short man to either fair catch or return the punt, or to be a blocker when you have a guy like Hill back. And the Chiefs did have 2 guys back, one to the far side of the field, one to the one to the near side, and for us the TV view, the far side of the field in front of Hill. And he's one of our favorite players, DeAndre Thomas, and DHB gets run out of bounds. He's out of the play as the gunner. Dave, I didn't make a note of who the second guy was, who was right there on the sideline. You have to absolutely make that play. Doesn't make the play, and then Thomas just goes straight down the sideline. And props to Cam Sutton for making the play he did, knocking the ball out. Props to Thomas for catching the ball, taking it 10 more yards. And, it made it easy for the Chiefs from there.
Pat McAfee has a former Colts punter, Pat McAfee, I think formerly of Barstool Sports now, has a great video breakdown of that. And, it makes you wonder what he says in that video about, did the Chiefs kind of line up the 1 deep and 2 kind of intermediate guys because of maybe the inconsistency of Jordan Berry. In other words, I don't know where this thing's going to go, and neither do we, so we might as well get ready for it. Or was this more a result of, was it actually a good directional punt by Berry? Some of these things we just don't know the answers to, and we're not going to get them from Danny Smith either. But it didn't look like the Steelers were ready for a shorter placed return man to return it from him, and almost flat-footed. He just scampers right up the sideline there, as you state. And yeah, Cameron Sutton, nice job knocking the ball out, but it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things there. And then whoa, here they are. The Chiefs are set up 1st and 10 at the Steelers 10-yard line with their first touchdown. I mean, that you might as well call that a turnover, basically.
What do you mean, the fumble?
No, returning it back to your 10-yard line.
Whatever. It's just bad special teams. I mean, so who was it was DHB out of bounds. Who was the other guy there on the sideline?
I know Jordan Berry was over there. I'm trying to think who.
There was a guy down there right when DeAndre Thomas caught the punt who didn't make the play and push him out of bounds. So Thomas catches the punt. I'll rewatch it. But I didn't make a note because I was looking at DHB out of bounds. And whoever was the other first guy down there just has to make that play, and he didn't. And then they're 15 yards, 20 yards down the field. Sutton makes the play. Barry's there trying to, as the ball pops loose, maybe see if he can be involved. He gets blocked out of the play, and and then that's the end of it. But yeah, so the Chiefs are starting deep in Steeler territory, and it took 3 plays. They didn't run the ball very often because they didn't have to, because it was too easy to get things done. But you see that, and the Steelers even got the benefit of a penalty. They get the penalty on the offensive pass interference, which would have been the ball and looked like the 1 foot yard line, if the 1 foot line, if Kelsey's catch had been legal. And I think it was the right call. He pushed Artie twice, and Artie slipped on the second one, but hit Chris Conley, Dave, and it just opened up the floodgates for the Steelers and the commentary about the defense. Because if you watch the play on television, as we both did, it looked like Artie just got beat on a straight post inside. But then when you see the overhead view, which is why watching the All-22 is so beneficial, when they broke it down when they came back from commercial, you can clearly see that I think it's Edmonds and Burnett, or I'm not sure exactly who it was. I think it was Edmonds and Mike Hilton. I think it was Edmonds and Mike Hilton. Are trying to figure out what to do. Artie thinks he's got help inside if it's going to be a post. He doesn't, because Conley runs right by both those two guys, Hilton and Edmonds, and it's 7-0 Chiefs.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to remember if it was. You got me confused now, but I'm trying to think if that was maybe who was on that side over there that they thought was going to, cover in the cover 2 type situation. I think, but regardless,
Kelsey was over there as well. And so Conley ran the post, and he had the whole middle of the field.
Yeah, you can see Burns turn around afterwards. It's 28's on that side, and I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think it's Hilton and Edmonds. I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm rewatching it now. But regardless, it was you see Artie Burns turn around as if to say, hey, where was my help there? So communication gaffe number 1.
Yeah, communication gaffe number 1. It's still the 7-0 Chiefs. Steelers get the ball back, and then it's offensive disaster still, and you're wondering what's going to happen here as Connor goes negative play. Ben throws short to Connor for no yards. And then Ben fumbles, recovers, and he throws to Antonio Brown. And Ben looks like he's kind of thinking maybe he was going to get a call on an offside or whatever. But so now the Steelers have run 6 plays. They've gained no yard. They've actually lost yards. And Barry punts. He punts, and Hill makes a catch, and he gets 6 yards. So that was they punted to the other side, and Hill runs up and catches the ball and gets a couple yards. And here come the Chiefs. And boom, 5 plays later, they go the distance. And this is what made me kind of amused. Mike Hilton says it was 21 after the game. Mike Hilton made the comment that it was 21-0, but they didn't earn it on us. What do you mean they didn't earn it on you? Who'd they earn it on? Because they went 71 yards in 5 plays. They went 61 yards in 6 plays. And, yeah, they had the short field, and they scored on that one. So they sure as hell earned it on you. In the first touchdown, you were involved in the miscommunication. So whatever you're going to say, don't say in the locker room when you just got smoked and you gave up 42 points that the other team didn't earn the first 21 or they didn't earn whatever points, because they earned them all.
He said, we gave it to him. Yeah, you did. You're damn right you did. First of all, it was Nix on the sideline on that first punt return. I think that goes goes by missing there. And you're right on the second, third down for the Steelers with Ben. And it happened, I think, 2 more times, at least one more time during the game. Ben's so used to trying to get the opposition to jump sometimes and get that free play, and they sure are blowing that thing dead quickly now. And I think the second time during the game, it really frustrated them. So I don't know how you feel about them doing that now, but
he better see the flag. I mean, he better know he got the flag, because that can't be the goal of the play. The goal is to run the play, right? I mean, that's probably not the play call. So the goal is still to run the play. But if you know the flag's on the sideline, yeah, look, you're conditioned to do it, but you better know you got the flag.
Yeah, and I think he assumed that he got it maybe on that one. And both those first 2 third down throws, nobody was going to catch either one of them because they were out of bounds. Which brings up an interesting point here about his deep balls so far to start the season. They haven't been great. Now, this past week, how much of that is related to him missing a couple of days of practice? How much of that, can a quarterback just go out there and drop him in the bucket, especially with a guy that you don't work with much or hadn't worked much with in James Washington there, and then, he was long on several of these deep ones. One to McDonald, I think, in the end zone, either McDonald or Jesse in the end zone. Antonio Brown overshot him on one. He was long on at least a couple to Washington. I mean,
the one I'll give him the break on was the one to McDonald, because he had a guy coming dead in his face. And so, I mean, that one I'll give him a break on. The others, I think Washington needs to be criticized, and I think on the broadcast they were right on this, where it was Skandrick, I think, over on the other side, where, he and it happened even on the first play. I mean, James Washington's got to work so that he gives himself some room on the sideline. You can't get pinned to the sideline like he did, particularly on that ball down the right side with Skandrick, where ideally you'd like to be throwing that ball toward the middle of the field if there's no safety help. But if there's safety help, you've got to throw it down the sideline. But if you're pinned on the sideline, then, there's no room to drop it in there. Now, I'm with you. Ben didn't throw the deep ball well, but also Washington's got to do a better job of creating space for himself.
Well, he's got to get off better. And look, Martavis was never great at this as well, too, where Martavis would beat you sometimes. Wasn't necessarily off the football. It was about that 7th step. When he's just, that long step, in that speed that he had, he's gliding. He can catch up with a long ball. How many times? Now, obviously there were times where Martavis has just run past people. But one thing that James Washington needs to do is he needs to be able to step on some feet early in the route, especially when he's got a guy up on his face here. He needs to kind of push and stem that thing to the inside instead of just try to run away from the defender. This is the NFL. It's much different. These guys are much, obviously much better at doing their job than college guys are, and you just can't run away from a guy. So yeah, he needs to do a better job of off the line, kind of stepping on the feet and kind of. Well, we see AB kind of a master at this, right? Leaning into guys within the first 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, and then separating, more down the sideline there. James Washington needs to do the same. Now, in defense of James Washington, he was open on that first one on the left side. He had a step or two on Steven Nelson, not so much so on the other 1 or 2 deep balls that he had, I think, down the right side of the field.
Yeah, you're right. On the first play, he did have a step on Steven Nelson. Look, you don't expect any quarterback to hit on 50% of those. But the Steelers have hit on those in the past, and it really hasn't mattered all that much whether it was Sammy Coates or Martavis Bryant or Antonio Brown. The Steelers were able to do that, and you see that, and this is why the Steelers take these shots on 3rd and 1. If you're going to get single man coverage on the outside, and you got a guy who can get there, then you're going to take some of those shots. And I'm a big proponent of throwing the ball down the field. I think that helps keep defenses honest. It helps keep safeties out of the box. It allows you to do other things. But so far this season, they haven't been able to do it. And so, the Steelers take their shots here, and it's obviously, they're 3 and out on 2 occasions. The Chief comes back, and then I think what you see here is, the throw I think you want to highlight is, he hits Sammy Watkins and again, huge game for Sammy Watkins. He hits him down the right side, and this is, you see it. Cam Sutton's obviously playing zone. There's a little bump at the line, and Cam Sutton just lets him run. And this is, again, we saw this repeatedly for the Steelers last year. You throw it in that hole, and the safety can't get over in time. And Sean Davis didn't get over in time. Sutton didn't carry him very far up the field, so that's a lot of room to cover. And I don't know, again, having not seen the All-22, we don't know where Davis lined up on the play, but he wasn't close to getting there, and it's a 40-yard pass down the right side. And then, bing, bang, it's, Hunt for a yard, and then Travis Kelce, as we saw many times in this game, Travis Kelce, touchdown.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to look at that. Real quick, what I was going to say was, what do you suppose Roethlisberger's career numbers are? I'm sure I can find it. First snap of the game, or first deep pass down a sideline in the first series. I wonder what Roethlisberger's completion percentage is.
Well, look, we've seen him do it against the Chiefs, because he used to just go after what's his name is for the Rams now? The kid from Washington.
Marcus Peters.
Yeah, he used to go after Peters. He baited him, a couple times, because Peters likes to jump routes, and so they would, I remember vividly pass down the right side on Coates in that night game. Ben hit him. It's we've seen it.
You got all that adrenaline flowing in through you right for the start of the game, and I know Ben's a veteran, but he's admitted he still gets kind of the a little bit of butterflies, adrenaline running through him before the start of games. Maybe going deep on the first play from scrimmage isn't such a good idea. Look, I know you can say, well, look, it sends a message, like a defense really needs a message that Ben Roethlisberger is going to go deep. Now, if you wanted to say, if you had a backup in there, like, when Landry Jones was in there in the past, going deep early, or you have a young quarterback and taking a shot deep, that's a message. But you don't need Ben Roethlisberger sending a message like, I'm going to go deep on you today, because, that's what he does anyway there. So just an interesting thought there. But on going through the play-by-play here, where'd you leave me off at here after the second touchdown?
Yeah, second touchdown. So the Steelers moved the ball a little bit.
They did.
To James Conner, where he beats the guy in the middle of the field, and
nice spin move there to pick up some additional yardage, and then they get the defensive holding penalty on Scandrick, and then they overcame the McDonald block in the back. They do all that. They start moving the football well, get down into, and then the 3rd and 5 was a high pass. Oh, I remember that one. The 3rd and 5 was that high pass back to the left side of the field that was too high for James Washington. I think Roethlisberger was initially flushed to the right, then kind of worked back to the middle of the pocket. And that was incomplete to Washington. So they outtrots Chris Boswell for a 49-yard field goal attempt.
Level of 1 to 10, your level of concern with Chris Boswell. with 10 being 10 being high, you're very concerned, and 0 being not at all concerned.
About an 8.5.
Really. because I'm in like a 1. I mean, I expect Boswell to make every kick from here going forward. And,
After the first miss, it wasn't anything. But you miss extra point and all after that, you start wondering and then you start throwing around in your head all the things that are probably going on in his head. Man, I just signed this big contract. Oh Lord, I just missed that one in Cleveland. Oh man, I just missed this. These guys are funny animals, man. They are fun.
Yeah, I mean, so I think Boswell, we've seen him, look, he's obviously missed kicks before, and we've seen him bounce right back. So, look, it was a 49-yarder. It wasn't a 32-yarder, but then he missed the extra point, which is a 33-yarder. So,
does Justin Tucker miss either one of those?
Well, Justin Tucker, that's like talking about God. I mean, God doesn't miss.
Well, people sure seem to get upset when I said Justin Tucker deserved to go to the Pro Bowl over Chris Boswell last year, including Chris Boswell, who blocked me on Twitter for it. But
about Chris Boswell, if he misses a couple more, I'll get concerned. But yeah, I think I still like, obviously he was booming the kickoffs, no problem there, and it wasn't like he was short. And also, obviously, look, the one missed left to the left missed by about 6 inches, and the one that the extra point he missed dinged off the upright. So still a little surprised that the guys on television and the public address announcer couldn't pick up that he actually missed the extra point, because the two referees standing on the uprights were going, he missed the extra point, making the miss the extra point signal. But anyway, so that drive, they actually get some yardage, and then it's 21-0. And this drive, you just see the versatility of the Chiefs' offense again. It's the Sammy Watkins show again. That pass to the left side, which is a great back shoulder throw. I think that was that one. Sammy Watkins on the end around, giving the stiff arm, and then this touchdown, Dave. Oh man, I'm trying to remember all the touchdowns. Where did Hunt catch this pass?
Remember, this is the one where he flared out to the left. This is kind of thing. This is kind of things that Bill Belichick and their offensive coordinator, who's refresh my memory.
And Josh McDaniel.
Right, Josh McDaniel do so well. They see you get in one personnel group and alignment on the field, and then they know that they can single up one player on one player out in open space, and then they're going to bet on their player. This is exactly kind of a reverse situation that we saw in the Patriots game last week when they got the ball out in space to, who was it, James White, out to the right side. The Chiefs did this time to the left side, an easy pitch and catch to Hunt, where because of the route combination that it's just going to be Hunt versus Terrell Edmunds. And you're betting on your guy to win, and Edmunds should have made that tackle, and he didn't, and it's an easy touchdown.
And that's on Edmunds, man. Look, that's third down. You got to get him out of bounds. And we talked about, Kareem Hunt. We heard our guy, Adam Teicher, talked about that he thinks he is a tough guy to bring down, and he's elusive. And this was look, you have the sideline. You got him pinned there. That's on Edmunds. And that's 4 points in a look, it's all hindsight, obviously. It's a 5-point game. If the Steelers are thinking about a field goal, in those last two drives, a field goal and a touchdown rather than needing 2 touchdowns, maybe it's different. But that is just a miss on the defense, and that's on Terrell Edmunds. There's just no two ways about it. That's not, it's not, hey, he needs to make a great play. He missed a play that he should make.
Yeah, and then you combine that with the early, you could pretty much say 12 points already on Edmunds, right? 12 of the 21 on Edmunds to start. The thing is, too, think about the swing here. You have a miss of 3 points by Boswell, and then you don't hold them to at least a 3 in that situation. So that's a pretty big, huge swing in just a matter of 6 or 7, 8 plays in that situation there. So keep going.
All right, so 21-0, and at this point, honestly, I thought the game was over. Now we can argue, was it over? It was that hole just too much for the Steelers to come back from. It's like saying, look, obviously we all know. Look, I've had the Steelers score. I picked the Steelers 31-27. I expect the Steelers to score points every week. I didn't think they were going to get shut out. And the Steelers then, what my concern at that point was, are the Chiefs going to score 65? I mean, really, there was nothing that we saw in those first three drives that gave me any comfort that the Chiefs might not score every time they have the ball. Now, obviously, game situation might dictate things. But, I tweeted at this point in time, the one thing is, because the Steelers offense is dangerous, if I'm Andy Reid and I'm Eric Bieniemy, I am not taking my foot off the gas at all. I'm not doing anything differently, and I try to make sure I put up 35 points. Now, let's give the Steelers some credit here, because this is the point where they deserve credit. They're down 21-0. I think it's over. A lot of, fans are booing at Heinz Field, rightly so. They don't look good. The offense is a complete mess. It's had, one reasonable drive out of three, and the defense hasn't even – I'm not even sure the Chiefs – well, they scored on that third down there. That might have been the only third down play they'd had to that point in the game. So, why would you think things would change? And the Steelers made a game of it from there. So they get some credit for what they did in that second quarter. Solid work. I'll give them kudos for that.
Yeah, it really looked like a tale of two quarters. What happened in the first quarter and then the second, and then obviously, and at the time I said circle this play. I don't know if it's going to come back to make a difference, but the Roethlisberger being sacked, and then the football follies. The event that followed after that, and then Chris Jones picks up the football and runs it in for a score. I mean, you're this close to being 28-0 down, and luckily they had the penalty on Orlando Scandrick, and to the Steelers' credit, they recovered from that. Of course, you had I think another encroachment penalty later on in that drive, but then they started to hit Juju Smith-Schuster, and I kind of thought going into this one that because of the matchup that Juju had in the slot, which a lot of it was going to be against, I think, a 31-year-old Orlando Scandrick, there's no reason to think that Juju wasn't going to win several of those matchups. Well, they got him involved in the offense, something like gave him, 3 straight passes, I think, in that drive, 19, 12, and 14. So boom, boom, boom. You're walking on down the field, and then Ben Roethlisberger does a great job of buying, I think, a little bit of extra time and hitting Jesse James for a 26-yard touchdown. And let me at this point take a moment to take my hat off and hand it to Jesse James. Not a guy that really is going to strike, I don't think, a lot of fear in opposing offenses, but this is a guy that constantly shows up week in and week out, and probably don't give him the level of respect that he deserves at times, especially his blocking still needs improvement. But this guy,
he made a big mistake last week. Ball through his hands for an interception.
Sure. You have situations like that. But I mean, this guy is far from a Matt Spaeth on top of it, right?
Absolutely.
He can do some damage for you. What about that one? I mean, he's so big that Ben just has to throw it up, and Jesse just reaches up. It's like playing keep away from little kids up underneath him.
Yeah, that was good to see, because that is the ball that went through his hands the week before, where fully extended at the top, and he's got guys around him, and he showed good strong hands. And I went through the game book for the career logs for Jesse and Heath, and Heath in his career had 4 100-yard games, and Jesse had 135, 138 yesterday. Whatever he had, Heath never had more than 120. Jesse had the game's changed and all that, and I'm not suggesting Jesse James is a better receiver, a better football player than Heath Miller. He's not. But you're right. In this offense, in this situation, what the Steelers needed to do, Jesse James got open, and this is the type of thing. And this is why I was talking about the Chiefs and the weapons, because when you have to cover Kelsey and Hill, and you have to think about Hunt, and that gives Sammy Watkins a chance to be a bigger part. If you're doubling those other guys, then Watkins gets to be the free man. Nobody's ever going to double Jesse James. And if you get Juju in the game, and by the way, I mean, Dave, we noticed, where did the Steelers? We talk about this a lot. where did the Steelers find their success? In the middle of the field. They found it with Jesse James in the middle of the field, and they found it with Juju on the crossing, on the drag routes across the field. Generally short patterns. There were a couple that were, a little bit longer, but they weren't finding success throwing to the outside. The bubble screens weren't working early in this game. The stuff down the sidelines wasn't working. They found success in the middle of the field. And that's been a little bit of Ben's kryptonite, throwing in the middle of the field against some defenses. But these little drag routes open things up with Jesse James, running. And the Chiefs, we know the Chiefs are a team that like to play man. You run those routes, you're going to get guys open.
Especially if you give the quarterback a little bit of time, and after a little bit of a shaky start. Look, I haven't zeroed in enough on offensive line yet. I do that when all 20.
There's enough other stuff to pay attention to.
Right, all 22 comes out. I'll zero in on the offensive line, but I didn't think Ramon Foster had an overly great game. I think if you want to talk and. That's a bit concerning when it comes to him, because normally if there's one guy that you say that's uber steady, especially when it comes to kind of pass protection things, it's Foster, and it seemed like he had a rough go of it. So we'll see what the all 22 says when it comes to him. But
so as the game went on, one of the things the Chiefs did with the big lead, and again, you wonder, should you vary from what you have? We saw the Chiefs rush three, and the Steelers did a good job most of the time against the three-man rush. And what happened was, it took Ben forever to find guys, but if you give them 7, 8 seconds, 5 seconds, they're going to find guys are going to get open. So that was I thought the Chiefs made one tactical error in this game, and that was dropping 8 back and rushing 3 against Ben, because they were harassing the heck out of him in that first quarter. But as the game went on, they did so a lot. I don't think they had a sack in the game, did they? Maybe one. Well, one late. Where they just grabbed it, Ben, right?
They did.
They held him.
Right.
Up, blew the whistle.
Now, following the Steelers score there, what an interesting possession that was, because after the short left pass to Watkins, the Steelers got their first sack of the game, and only sack of the game, with Daniel McCullers of all people. And boy, you go back and you watch the overhead that they show you on that. They better be glad that they got enough pressure on that play to force Mahomes up and basically into McCullers, because the cheetah was loose.
Down left side, right, and up the seam.
Yeah, the cheetah had blown by everybody, and if there's and you can't say, well, there's no way that Patrick Mahomes would have been able to get the ball to him, because we've seen Patrick Mahomes during the preseason throw that thing 65 yards in the air. So it's probably a good thing that the things transpired the way it did, or else they probably Tyreek Hill's probably standing in the end zone at that point. They finally forced a 3rd and 15, and
we saw these false starts. This is what killed the Chiefs. Obviously the sack helps, but the Chiefs, in back-to-back series here, I think they got false starts on 3rd down, and that made it different. And by the way, I saw some guys in Pittsburgh media where one guy say that he thought Mahomes should have had a chance to put his head down and try to get that first down. Are you kidding me, man? You got Pat Mahomes. It's third start of his career. He's lighting it up. He runs for 10 yards. He's got 2 Steeler defenders and 5 more yards to go. Man, I'd kill my quarterback if he didn't get down in that situation. Right? You got to slide there.
Yeah, 3rd and 15. I was a little bit worried when he got loose there that he might pick it up, but that gap quickly closed quick, and I think he made the right decision. And look, the Steelers only forced 5 third downs all game. Think about that. The Chiefs ran 50-something plays, and the Steelers defense only forced 5 third downs, and one of those third downs happened during the kill the clock drive at the end. So in all reality, 4 third downs they faced all game, and this is one of them that the Chiefs failed to convert here.
Yeah. Okay. So they do fail to convert, and the Steelers have an 11-play, 85-yard drive. Again, we see
arena football.
Yeah. Look, it's what it is, and we see Ryan Switzer get involved here. But it's kind of the Juju and Jesse James show, but Ben's spreading the ball around. We see a bunch of things. You wonder at this point if James Washington's ever going to catch a pass that counts, because he's had a couple called back at this point. Vance gets his first catch. We're down to the Steelers get down to the 4-yard line, and then you get the touchdown. Misses Jesse James, but you get the touchdown to Juju, and now it's you got 6:27 left in the half. It's 21-13. Boz missed the extra point, but you're like, all right, well they showed they can move the ball too. Both teams can move the ball here. Okay, let's see who gets the next score. And lo and behold, the Steelers again get that Dave. They stop them again. They get helped by a false start on what would have been a 2nd and 6 becomes a 3rd and 7 becomes a 3rd and 12. And Mahomes throws one of his incompletions. Steelers, get the ball back, and this time, these two drives were good drives. They go 90 yards in 10 plays after the another penalty on special teams. Man, not a great day for Tyler Matakevich. Not a great day for special teams all around. Too many penalties, poor punts and missed kicks. But this was a drive. You can hang your hat on these two drives, and credit to the Steelers to make it 21-21.
Going back to that previous drive, and I think I've said this on a previous show, I'm just so afraid they're going to get Ryan Switzer hurt and some of the things they're asking him to do. I understand why they're doing some of the things they're doing with him offensively, but that he took.
You don't like it. You don't like it.
He took a heck of a wallop on one of those runs, right? Yeah. He took a heck of a wallop by one of those. You just don't want those big guys,
hitting the little guys,
midget tossing.
Yeah. His whole career, he's been a guy who bounces right back up, and didn't take it in the head, took it in the body. So I guess if you're, it's not your knee, it's not your head. But yeah, you're right. He took some shots, and he hasn't been. That one against Cleveland, I guess he got 5 or 6 yards on a rushing play. He got 2 key. Again, he's getting the carries, and Ridley and Samuels are not. We didn't even get into the inactives, which we'll get into here. I guess we'll get to halftime and go into the inactives. But you get the big play to Jesse James.
Let me ask you real quick. That Matakevich, was that? Did you really think that was a legal blindside block? Some of these things. Some of these rules, you just. It's like a coin flip. I think with some of these, he's peeling back.
Was a bad call because the player turned into him a little bit. Yeah, I didn't think every call was good in this game. Again, the penalty numbers were relatively even, but yeah, they missed some calls. They got some calls right.
Well, it didn't matter. They ended up marching the field anyway after that. And, initially when Ben threw that touchdown to James Washington, I thought he might be over the line of scrimmage. But
I for sure thought he was. And the TV guys got the rule wrong, which confused me.
Yeah, any part of your
what the ball was.
Well, we should know with Russell Wilson a couple of times over the year, right? It's any part of the body, right?
Any part of the body, right.
And I was able to quickly pull that clip down and then zoom in on it and post it on the Twitter machine. And I think they got the call right. I think his back foot was right where it should be. And good. What was that? The drive with the Ben flipped it to
Vance McDonald. Yeah, outside. Yep, that's. Well, actually, I don't see it. It must have been the previous drive.
Yeah, I don't remember where that was in rotation.
Nifty little play by Ben.
So they get the 2-point conversion, 21-21, game on.
Yeah, game on. And at this point, look, obviously the Steelers have some momentum. You wonder how it's going to go, obviously, because the Chiefs get the ball to open the half, and just what you don't want to have happen. It's been a quiet half for Tyreek Hill. And he just takes a short pass and he goes, and all of a sudden they're on the Steeler 39, and the second play of the half should have been a touchdown. All of a sudden you got Sammy Watkins going down the left side, and you got J.J. Watt 2 steps behind him, and Mahomes, who hasn't really missed a throw the whole game. He just misses Watkins. He's open. He's literally open by 2 or 3 steps, and Watt's not closing ground. And obviously everybody's question is what the hell is T.J. Watt running down the outside with Sammy Watkins on? That's as bad a mismatch as you're going to get, and that's not a comment on T.J. Watt. And he missed him. And you say, oh, well, dodged a bullet. But Kelsey for 13, run it for 1. And then Kelsey again on what was a really good catch on a throw. It wasn't a perfect throw, a little bit behind him, right? This is the one that was behind me. He reached behind his left side, and he goes in the end zone. And that whole drive took 2 minutes and 18 seconds.
Yeah, not a cover 2 beater, I think on that, or quarter. I can't remember if that was a quarters beater or not, but regardless, yeah.
What do you think of the I mean, like when somebody says, Dave, why is T.J. Watt running down the left sideline with Sammy Watkins? What do you say?
Well, I say that's good. That's good scouting on the other team to know what they're going to get in a certain look in a certain formation, and you see that during games a lot. And then especially fool me once, okay, but don't get me again on it. And that was just one of those situations where good. I think scouting ahead of time, they knew what they were going to get in a certain look there, and they got it.
And I'll tell you what I noticed here coming out is both these drives, this drive and the next drive for the Chiefs that ended in a touchdown as well. They came out both drives, first play, empty set. 5 wides, spread them out, spread the Steelers defense out, and obviously they had success doing it. And then, look, I've tweeted a bunch of stuff this morning, and you'll obviously see it all over SteelersDepot.com as well when everybody's had a chance to go through the game a few more times. Like I said at the top, crediting the Chiefs offense does not discredit, I'm not giving the Steelers defense a pass because they did a lot of things wrong, but real credit to this offense and to Andy Reid. They had like 20 plays. They came out in empty sets. And as people have pointed out, the Steelers tried everything. They played man, they played zone, they blitzed. I mean, there was a play I remember, one of these, I think this play that he got to, one of these 2 drives, this first play, Mike Hilton came off the edge, and we've seen Mike Hilton time these things really well most of the time. He missed one in this game being offsides, but if you don't get there, you don't get there. And if Mahomes is getting rid of the ball in 2 seconds, you're not going to get there. And this is what happened. And the Chiefs moved the ball, not at will, but pretty damn close.
Yeah, they did. And the second Kelsey touchdown was against Quarters. Where'd you leave me off of? Them coming back down the field and going 35-28?
No, just we didn't get the Steelers touchdown to make it 28-28, which was a good drive. Go take us through that one.
Yeah, they actually got back to running the football, albeit pretty much unsuccessfully on that drive, except for the Connor 9-yard run that I remember on that one, which was a good effort, I believe, by him on that. And then Ben Roethlisberger missed on a couple of throws during that drive. He then started to sync back up with Juju. I think, was that the drive where Juju converted the 3rd and 1? In that drive, but regardless, they moved the field. They flipped the field again. They get the call. Boy, I don't know what Ben was thinking on that corner pass to AB. I didn't initially see the hold on Steven Nelson. I don't know if you saw it initially in live. I thought, man, what?
I didn't see it live, but obviously the replay, he gets his shoulder pad full on, holds him, right?
Right. And I didn't see. I thought, oh Lord, what a ugly turnover. And then when you see the replay, you obviously think, okay, well, yeah, they got that right. But I didn't see the hold in real time.
Was the drive with Juju getting that 1-yarder, and that was a good little play. And he hit Juju. This was a Juju drive. I mean, he got 15 early, and then he got 21 on that one. This is the one that was kind of the deep left that Ben he had time to lob it over. He rolled to the right, and he had time to lob it over to the left side. And, then they get down there, and as you say, you get the defensive holding, then you get you get the defensive holding in the end zone to get you down to the 2, then you get the interference in the end zone, and then
what a great effort by James Conner on that touchdown. Really
spinning around. I guess he got dinged up a little bit on that play. But yeah, great second effort to spin and get the ball over the line, and they reviewed it and they get touchdown, and they missed showing the extra point, I think, on that one.
I don't know what you thought at 28-28 with 7-12, 7-18, whatever it was left in the third quarter, but I'm thinking, all right, they've weathered the storm here. Surely they'll make surely they'll get a few things figured out here defensively, and I really like the Steelers' chances here at this point, 28-28.
Let me just read to you the Chiefs' second half possessions: touchdown, 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 safety, fumble, end of game. I mean, you're hoping for a stop in there somewhere. I mean, obviously the safety's a stop, the fumbles, they turnover. The defense did a couple things, but man, it came out of they started the game, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. They started the second half, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. I mean, that's just making it tough on your.
And I think this drive here that put the Chiefs up 35-28, wasn't this the one where the quick pass over to the right to Hill that it looks like if Sensabaugh or whoever doesn't make the shoestring tackle?
Yes. Yeah. Well, he's running through the defense. I don't know if he scores, but he's running through the defense.
I think that one was in there. Then Kelsey eats him up for 31 and 9, and then you get, boy, what did we say during the podcast the other day? It just seems like if the Chiefs get inside that red zone and get down deep, you might as well go ahead and hang a 7 on the board because they're that creative and that good, or at least they were in the game against the Chargers, to give you that feeling, and that certainly was the case in this game. I mean, at first it looks like maybe there's an issue with the footing on there, but you see the back end of the end zone view, and that's a touchdown to Robinson. You're thinking, the first thing that goes to my head is, who the heck is Robinson?
Right, that's what I thought. I'm like, Denard Robinson. Which Robinson is this? Because I knew I liked Wilson for them, and I thought he was a really good additional threat. And Albert Wilson, and he's not there anymore. I think he's in Miami. So I see this guy Robinson, who boom, another guy scores.
Yeah, and I think Artie was trying to follow him across the back of the end zone on that one. Okay, the Steelers go the dreaded 3 and out at that point. If anything, you've got to start matching these guys punch for punch in this situation. And this was a drive I think Ridley came in and got some work on, and then it ends with a 3rd and 3. I think Switzer and Ben both noticed
just one thing on that previous drive, and this is the video that's up there. You'll see they go 5 wide. I retweeted. I think Baldinger put a video up of this particular play, and again, it's what do you do here? They go 5 wide, and you've got Kelsey, and the safeties are got deep help on the outside because you got these burners. You got Watkins on one side, you get Hill on the other. I assume Hunt is in there, and so you get a situation where it's Bostic on Kelsey, and if you watch the play, the whole middle of the field's open. Bostic doesn't do a terrible job. He's a step behind the play, and Mahomes makes a really good throw. The thing is, all Mahomes has to worry about is getting the ball over Bostic because there's no safety help back there. And again, we can talk about this forever, and I don't have a perfect answer, and Dave probably doesn't have a perfect answer either. You got to do a better job of designing your defense so that you don't get exposed like that. But having said that, if you don't get exposed there and you leave Hill one-on-one on the outside, maybe you get exposed there. Maybe you don't have the right personnel. Maybe Bostic shouldn't be on the field at all. Maybe they need to have more of that, 6 and 7 defensive back look. But obviously you didn't have Joe Hayden. So again, your depth at those positions isn't quite as good as you hoped. So you've got all sorts of things. And this is what Dave said to the previous question I asked him. He's exactly right. Sometimes you say, look, these guys did their work. They did their film study. They've only got 1 game of tape, but maybe they saw stuff because they kept taking advantage of it. And this is exactly what you're talking about.
Right. And boy, that you watch the replay of that throw just over, it looks like something that you see in an NFL Films commercial, right?
Perfect.
That ball with such a great rotation that it's got that kind of wobble, that unbalanced wobble to it because it's thrown so tight. You can see the strings and all on it. But yeah, just right over the head of Bostic. and this is one of those things too, where Steelers have a tendency over the years to like those 6'1", 6 foot to 6'1" inside linebackers, right? What if you got a guy like Matthew Thomas in there at what is he, 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4"? How much of a difference does that make, especially with the fact that he runs a little bit quicker there? Bostic did have decent coverage on it, but it was a well-placed ball, on top of it in that situation, and take your hat off and hand it to them. But all right, we're into the Steelers' next drive, and we were at the 3rd and 3 there, where I think both Switzer and Ben read the hot.
Yeah.
But who was in a bad throw or?
It's in Ben's face a little bit. Maybe Ben was reading man, and Switzer was reading zone because he sat. It didn't look like a good throw either way, and it looked like a guy was in Ben's face. So I don't know that we know exactly what it was, but you're right. That is what happened.
Yeah, you get everything right about that, except the execution. The main thing that matters there. And then Jordan Berry punts 33 yards.
By the way, we had our Stephen Ridley sighting on that drive, so he actually touched the ball twice.
Right. Let's see. And then
they should never have run the football. I'm seriously, I said it at halftime. You don't need to run the football at all. It's 2nd and 5 on their own 30. Throw the football. You got 2 yards, and then they don't execute on 3rd down, as we said, and they're done. And now, it's Jesus. You haven't stopped them in the half yet, and it's 35-28. You don't want to get down 2 touchdowns, but 5 plays later, you're down 2 touchdowns.
Exactly, you are, and they even overcame. I think the kind of key, the funny sequence in that is it went 1st and 10 from the Steelers 26. They get an illegal use of hands penalty on them. Then they're facing a 1st and 20. You're thinking, my God, surely they can. In these next couple plays right here, maybe you can either even get them out of field goal range here with following this illegal use of hands penalty, or at worst, maybe you hold them to a field goal here. You're thinking at 1st and 20, and then even.
That play by Bud Dupree, 2nd and 18.
Yeah, he had. You know what? Here's something I quickly tallied up last night as well too. They had 12 penalties yesterday, right? 12 that were enforced, 12 that were enforced. 6 of those were non-contact. Basically, You're making it easy on the ref calling them. Yep. Whether it be offsides, neutral zone, encroachment, false start, illegal formation. Half of your penalties, you can't say, oh, that was a questionable call, So,
Bud, 2nd and 18, you can't be offside. I know you want to get to the quarterback. Man, you can't be offside. And then, Tyreek Hill runs right by Artie Burns.
What shall we call that? Unforced penalties?
Mental errors, whatever you want to call them. Yeah.
And then you're 2nd and 13, and then that's that Hill touchdown that we referenced, early in the game, just early in our talk, just blew right by Artie on the left outside there for an easy pitch and catch there. So at 42-28, then just amazing how quickly this thing gets back away from you again, because here we were just talking about 28-28 with 7-something minutes left in the 3rd quarter. And you're thinking, okay, the Steelers might have this. Well, you turn around and you're 2 touchdowns down again.
Yeah, with 13 minutes to go, you still think there's some stuff. The Steelers again, they go, they get completion to Vance McDonald for 14 yards, but then Vance for 2, incomplete to Washington. He throws that ball deep right.
That's the one where Washington helps himself or helps Skandrick out by
pins himself on the sideline.
Letting him use himself, let him use the sideline as an extra defender.
But
it wasn't going to get caught anyway, right? Or was it?
Right.
Yeah.
So now why don't we just bring the Antonio Brown drama into the game here, because, he goes to Vance, he goes to Washington, he goes to Juju. Now, I have no idea exactly when all these, things with Antonio Brown came into the sequence we're going through.
I think it's right. I think it's actually right here after this Berry punt and the first play or two. I think it's right in here because it was at the beginning of the 4th quarter.
Yeah, so now you got an unhappy Antonio Brown. and I don't even know what to say about this, Dave. I mean, he got targeted 16 times in week 1, had 9 catches. He had a touchdown. Obviously didn't have a touchdown in this game. He gets targeted, 5 million times, right? I mean, Ben was threw the ball 60 times, and AB got his share, right? What were the targets you have in front of you?
Like 16, wasn't it? Didn't he get targeted like 16 times? Hold on a minute here.
AB
17 targets.
Juju 19. Nobody else had more than 5. So, is he frustrated because they're actually putting a blanket on him and he's having trouble getting open? Is he frustrated because 17 targets isn't enough out of 60? Is he frustrated because Juju has 19 and 13 for 121? Or, Jesse James ends up with 5 for 138 and they each have a touchdown? I don't know the answer. Dave doesn't know the answer. I know that. It's just a bad look. I don't know what more to say. He is a tremendous football player. He is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I don't know how to add on to that. It looked like he might have had more. I think maybe Daryl Drake had said something to him over there because earlier in the game, I think Drake got onto him, and it's something that's not really being it looked like Drake and AB had a few words a little bit earlier in the game that the camera caught, and then this seemed to kind of maybe be a continuation where Drake maybe was accusing AB of running a wrong route. I'm guessing here.
Yeah.
Where Drake maybe says something and AB starts jawing in there and how much was he mad at Randy? How much of that was him mad at Drake and Randy just trying to diffuse the situation? We don't know, but yeah, it is an extremely bad look, and the Chiefs from there on. Where are we at here in the fourth quarter, right?
We're in the safety here, and on first down from the 1, the Chiefs take a shot. And I'll tell you,
I wrote on Twitter at the time, it'd be interesting to see how the Chiefs offense responds here. Will they kind of turtle up here, or will they stay aggressive? And to their credit, they took a deep shot down the field, down the right hand side, I think, to Hill in that situation. So kudos to them.
They did, and if you're like me, I mean, you see him drop back and let go, and you're just holding your breath because you can't see what's in the frame, and you're just holding your breath, hoping he's not 3 steps behind everybody and catching a 99-yard touchdown, a la Martavis Bryant years ago against Arizona, or Juju last year against the Lions. These long 90+ yard plays, it was okay coverage, whatever. They didn't complete the passes, all that matters. And then Steelers get to safety. And probably, if you watch this a bunch of times and you see this, give J.J. Watt some credit on this one. He's not registered on the tackle. A lot of other guys came in, and Artie Burns didn't have a good game, but he came in and made a solid hit to make that play. Burnett was there, but eventually some other guys get there as well. And I think those 2 guys got credit for the tackle. But J.J. Watt came off the left edge.
TJ
came off the left edge and forced that inside, and Artie made a stick. It was probably Artie's might be the only one who gets a gold star on in that game yesterday, but they did make the play, and you're still in the game, right? You get the ball back and then you line up incorrectly. Ridley's coming on late, and it's just this, and this cost the Steelers a lot of yards because Antonio Brown had a nice return on the free kick. Getting near midfield, and the Steelers, I think I did the math at the time. I think it cost him 17 yards. It's as you pointed out, Dave, a mental mistake and unforced error, if you will. And
back to back, even what I wrote about this last night. First of all, that's the same T.J. Watt that had the full sack taken away from him in that week 1 game.
Yeah, that did actually happen. He finished with 3. Is that right?
Right. They gave it to. I thought that was right. At first, they only took a half a sack away from him, and I'm thinking, yeah, I don't understand this. And then I wonder how much, because I tweeted Elias. I tweeted Elias Sportsbook during the week. Ask him about that sack. You don't suppose I had anything to do with that full sack getting taken away, do you? But it rightly went to Hargrave. Anyway, I wrote about this last night, David. When they're lining up for that free kick, The same kickoff rules apply in that, regular kickoff, even though he's punting the ball, the same kickoff rules with the restraining line and all play in there. And you can watch, and I have a great GIF of this up. Poor Anthony Chicklo's given a sign on the field to the sideline, which has become all too common both in special teams and the Steelers defense. The old arms up, shrug of the shoulders, like, what are we supposed to do here? And you can see him walk up past the 40-yard line, signaling to somebody, which presumably was Ridley, hey, you got to get up here. You got to get within this restraining line because we could only have 3 players back past, the restraining line. Well, Ridley, I guess, begins walking up, but right at the time that Colquitt makes contact with the football, Ridley is right there. He's on the wrong side of the line. No two ways about it. He's walking up in the right direction, but they get him for an illegal formation. Now, who is that on? I mean, is that bad special teams coaching that you can't have your guys line up correctly on a free kick? Did you not cover that? Or is this something that you cover once and you think my guy's got it? Or is this something that need to be done week in, week out?
So here's what I'm guessing the issue is, and obviously a guy coming on late, and so you have a new rule, and you have a guy who's not usually in that situation. I'm guessing. Again, this is just a guess, and that doesn't excuse it. That's just a guess as to why that happens. If some guy's dinged up, or some guys, they said, Boston came off. He was tired from that last drive. That last drive was 2 plays. They threw a deep pass and there was a safety. So you wouldn't think Boston was, I didn't think it was a very good explanation on the TV. Let's put it that way. So it's somebody's fault, and I know everybody's down the throat of Mike Tomlin and even down the throat of Randy and down the throat of Keith Butler and Tom Bradley. But man, Danny Smith. Steelers special teams have not been anything special over the last few years of Danny Smith's tenure, and they continue. If you're going to pick a guy to go first, Danny Smith's in the conversation for me. That's for sure. Obviously, I'm not defending Keith Butler at all, but Steelers special team stuff is really not good.
Well, once again, who is this on? I mean,
like I said, I think on this case, it's a guy because you don't have the next 5 guys, because it's a new rule. The guy you say run onto the field doesn't know exactly what to do. So it's more on Danny than the player. If my assumption is right, and I don't know that my assumption's right.
All right, so AB runs this thing up to the 47-yard line, and you get a little bit excited until penalized for 5 yards, and then the re-kick happens. So what happens on the re-kick? Ryan Switzer catch. What a great punt! If it's a regular punt, you're thinking, "My God, Colquitt, fantastic!" Did this one just get away from Colquitt? Did he think maybe we can make the Steelers make a blunder here? What? If you look on the site, I have a GIF of Ryan Switzer catching this ball at the Steelers' 15-yard line, and boy, it's amazing his momentum didn't even carry him out of bounds. Do you know what happens if that ball goes out of bounds?
The 40-yard line?
Well, the official rule says, according to NFL rules on free kicks, which I'm also including below, the penalty for a safety kick out of bounds is that the receiving team may elect to take possession of the ball 30 yards from the spot of the kick or at the out-of-bounds spot. You're obviously not going to take it at the out-of-bounds spot. In this particular case, on Sunday, 30 yards from the spot of the kick would have been the Steelers' 45-yard line, or 15 yards further up the field than Switzer's return, or 2 yards shorter than what Antonio Brown first returned the football. So they just gave you back-to-back chances to have the football almost near midfield. Now let me ask you. I don't know for sure. Maybe we'll see on the All-22. If Ryan Switzer does not catch this ball, does it go out of bounds?
I mean, I remember the play, and I remember, I just remember thinking, the Steelers are going to lose a lot of yards here on this play because Colquitt boomed it. I mean, if it was 50-50 to go out of bounds, you probably have to let it bounce.
I mean, look on Steelers Depot right now, David. I mean, let me send you this.
I'm on it.
Let me send you this gift right now via DM for you. So, and you tell me what you think about the angle of this punt and where it's going to land. I just sent it to you. So, folks, this is real time.
This is live radio.
I just sent you that DM, but to me, considering the score and considering everything, I think you have to, and I almost
it's going out of bounds.
Okay, so you see,
it could bounce crazy, but like I said, it's I'd say yes, it's greater than 50%. It's going out. Yeah, it's going out of bounds.
Do you think Ryan Switzer knew the rule?
Don't know the answer to that. I think Ryan Switzer's trying to make a play and probably didn't know. I would make a pretty solid bet he doesn't know it's 30 yards from the line of scrimmage.
So who again is this on?
Well, that's when your special teams coach should tell the guy, remember, if this is going out of bounds, we get the ball way upfield. This is not a normal punt. That would be the one thing I'm saying to guys going out in the field on a free kick, safety free kick, right?
Yep. So anyway, they ruined two chances to have the ball near midfield, down 14 points. And instead, they start at their own 30, and you don't know what's going to happen after a certain situation like that. But obviously, you had the drive that stalled, and then okay, this is a drive where they get now. Here, boy, there is so much to cover, and we're an hour and 10 minutes into this thing, and this is really where it gets interesting. You're down 14. You drive to your own 44, and you just faced a 3rd and 25, and Ben gets you 18 yards. Okay, you're facing a 4th and 7 at your own 44. 9:24 left in the game. Remember, you're down 14, and you decide to punt the freaking football with a punter that hasn't had a great day.
These are.
What are you thinking there? What are you thinking there?
4th and 7 at the Steelers 44. What am I thinking? 9:16 left.
Down 14.
Yeah, down 12, right? Down 12.
Or down. Down 12.
You need 2 touchdowns. You get 9:16 left. You haven't stopped them. What am I thinking? I'm thinking.
Would you have gone for it?
Would I have gone for it? Yeah, I would have gone for it.
Yeah, I would have too. And and it's easy to say after the fact, blah blah blah. But what did you get on the punt? I mean, he uncorks one 56 yards to the end zone.
Well, this is the situation where I'm sure the Steelers were fine with that because I think that we saw Hill last year take one from the 10 back 90 yards. What is amazing to me. Well, okay, so Barry gets one chance to uncork one, and he does. The whole game against Cleveland, he had chances to uncork him, and he didn't. He was not asked to uncork anything in this game. I'm 100% sure of that. So I imagine they probably said, look, I think they probably said kick it high to the 10, but if it goes in the end zone, don't sweat it. But this, he hit it about 70 yards. I mean, it didn't land on the goal line, right? I mean, it was. He boomed this one through the end zone. He finally hit one long. None of it's good. And here's the thing. Now, here's the other thing about this is now the Steelers defense, you got 9-16, right? And this is now the Chiefs. This is the one where if you can score fast, of course you score fast, but they're happy to run clock. And, they convert a 3rd and 2 after running the ball. They convert, you got them on a 2nd and 10, and you get another defensive offside penalty. So you get a 2nd and 5, and Hill converts, and then you get this. They gash him for a running play for 16 yards. And here's the thing: now this game's effectively. This is the one mistake the Chiefs' offense. They made two mistakes on the false start penalties in the first half, and then this is like the only other mistake they made in the game. And as they're moving the ball, You're almost in field goal range, which you would probably kick the field goal at some point if you had to make it 15 points rather than 12, because that makes some difference. And the Steelers make a defensive play here. They get the safety and they make a defensive play here. But this was, again, hot knife through butter. This pass to Conley was, he's getting some yards on a 1st and 10. He's trying to stay in bounds, it looks like. And
he's getting through all those missed. How great was that? Keith Butler called for the missed tackles on that one.
Missed tackles, right?
That's using your head.
And then the ball bounces the Steelers' way, and they get it. So there's 5:03 left in the game, and the Chiefs were looking at probably a second, and let's just call it a 2nd and 5 or something at the Steelers 33. 5:03 left in the game. So that clock's going down to 3 minutes. And then they attempt a field goal. Most likely, something like that's the Chiefs' worst case scenario. So the Steelers get a last chance at life. And Dave, this
a good last chance at life too. Because technically you're down 2 scores and you got 5 minutes is an eternity. At that point you're thinking, you need 2 scores, but 5 minutes is a lot of time. But it took them in that time. They ran 3:04 off the clock trying to score in that situation in something like a 9-play drive.
Well, let me tell you. So for those who don't remember, this is when Jesse gets loose on the sideline. And the first play of this drive, he goes 46 yards to the KC 20. So let me just put this in scenario for you. Here are the Steelers. You're down 12. And I have some guy attacking me on Twitter right now in real time about making this point. He's like, Ben and the offense were great. They put up 37. They should win. I cannot believe you're such an ass for, pointing this out. And it shows what an idiot you are. Okay, here's the situation. You're down 12. There's 4:52. Excuse me. Sorry about that. There's 4:52 left. You're down 12. You're on the Kansas City 20-yard line. The Steelers score with 1:59 left in the half. That means it took them 2 minutes and 53 seconds. This is the reason I referenced one of the earlier Chief drives. They went X amount of yards in 2 minutes and 20-some seconds. It took the Steelers 2 minutes and 53 seconds to go 20 yards. And I think they ran 8 plays. They had 2 4th downs in there. And the other point of this is if you watched, they stood at the line of scrimmage, walked to the line of scrimmage, stood at the line of scrimmage on every one of these plays. And Ben they walked to the line of scrimmage with 2:18 left on the touchdown. It was 2:46 left. They had 3rd and goal from the 1. And then third and goal from the 1. Ben gets the short pass to Juju, that inside shovel pass that they've run so often. They lose 2 yards. So 2:46 left when they started that play. And the next play ends at 1:59. They walk to the line of scrimmage. Ben lets 18 seconds run off. And all I'm thinking is, well, there's no way. They'll definitely have the 2-minute warning. And so if Boz kicks it deep, they'll still get that 2-minute timeout. And they didn't. It's just ridiculous because I point this out every freaking year, and it just blows my mind. The Steelers probably don't win the game either way, but it just blows my mind.
Well, it goes back to the started drive with 5:03, and then you could boil it down to like you did. 4:52 is a lot of time when you have the ball at the opposition's 20-yard line. What happens if you score in the next play? In 2 plays, you know.
4 minutes left.
Then it's really on, at that point. Yeah, the fact that they used 48 seconds to run basically 2 plays. From a 3rd and 1 at KC 1 to a 4th and 3 at KC 3. And look, I understand the scramble took a little bit of time and all, but still, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to chew up there. And then, we got past. We're past that. Surely you're going to onside kick, right? Because you got through all 3 timeouts. Why not at least take the chance of getting the onside kick here, right? Because you do have the 3 tight ends in the bank.
3 timeouts.
3 timeouts in the bank, right?
Yeah, you said 3 tight ends. That was a good miss there.
three timeouts in the bank. Why not go ahead and just try give yourself a chance with the onside kick?
Yeah, look, I
because if you don't, what's the worst thing that can happen? They make you chew through all your timeouts. But if the game, if they get in field goal range or pick up make you burn up the timeouts, get a first down, either way the game's over, right?
Yeah, game's over. I mean, look, the answer is whatever you do, your defense has to stop them. And the first play they get, they run 8 yards. I mean, the thing is, I think it's a little different.
But my point is why not give yourself one more play of a chance of an onside kick to recover the football too?
Yeah. You got it. You got a 15% chance of doing having something positive happen. So, yep. We saw the Patriots did it. They tried a little pooch one over the line of scrimmage. I think that's creative. I like those ideas. You're probably not going to get it, but yeah, it gives you another chance to have a play go your way. And they didn't do it. And Mike said he wanted to give his defense a chance. I don't give your defense a chance. Your defense got to make a play. They made a play. They did just make a play. Actually, I should say they did force that fumble, but they hadn't stopped the Chiefs basically at all. And first play,
1st and 10. You know that they're going to run. You know who's going to get the football. You need a stop. They can't stop.
Sell out to stop the run.
And they give up a 9-yard run off left tackle.
And that's all she wrote.
And that's about it right there. Yep. All right. It was a mess. It started off a mess offensively. It was a mess by the defense the whole game. The offense, fortunately, got some stuff straightened out in the middle of the game. The offense failed on a couple of key drives and couldn't keep up. And then your special teams really let you down after you get a safety. I mean, there's just so much bad throughout this thing, especially when you're 21-21. I mean, you're thinking 21-21, and then as we said 28-28 with 7 minutes left in the third quarter. You're thinking, okay,
at home, and you've got momentum supposedly.
Yeah, you're thinking, okay, 28-28, 7 something left. They're gonna end up winning this sucker, and boy, we're gonna have a lot to talk about when they do. But no, it was a mess. So, all right, 1-1.
Nobody's getting fired this week.
Nobody's getting fired. I don't know. I mean, look, they're not going to move on from Tomlin. They're not going to move on from Keith Butler. Those are just changes they don't make during the season. You could make an argument that it's easier to bring in an outside special teams coach, right?
Yes.
So, but even then, I think I'll be surprised if Danny Smith goes anywhere. I think that what do you think? Are we going to have a new punter in Tampa Bay?
I doubt it. I mean, it's easier, but doesn't mean I wouldn't think about bringing somebody in. You're not bringing Matt Weil in, but you're might have 3 new kickers around the NFL this week after some of the things that happened. But I would bet no, but they could bring somebody in.
Mike sure made sure to point out the non-varsity like punting. The thing is, you carried Weil all preseason. Weil did nothing to lose the job. And Barry did nothing to retain the job. Am I right?
Yeah, look, we all agreed. I mean, the answer they chose is the devil they knew. That's what they chose.
Right. So I wonder if you had to do that all over, if you would.
Let's talk about different impact for a second. How much did not having Hayden and DeCastro impact this game?
I don't really think a lot, to be quite honest with you.
I think not having I thought in this game, I thought the Chiefs would score a lot of points. I was worried about the Chiefs scoring a lot of points. I think not having Hayden hurt the Steelers.
How?
Because he's better than the guys out there.
I don't think Hayden's. I don't think. And I said this before the game. I didn't think they would miss Hayden and DeCastro, and I honestly don't think they did. Yeah, Sutton got beat down that right side early, and look, they pulled him out after 50% of snaps anyway. He only played 50% of snaps, and he wound up.
He's better than whoever you're putting there. And then the other thing is, I don't know, maybe the communication's better. I don't know who you're going to blame on the communication, Burnett or Edmonds or Davis or, Sutton or Sensabaugh, or I don't know who gets the blame for this, but it's just a bunch of crap that that, Mike Hilton saying, again, in that quote that I tweeted last night, he says, we got ourselves in a big hole. They didn't earn it. We gave it to them. And then he said, miscommunication and blown coverages. Look,
well, it's like Groundhog Day. I mean, every week now.
The opening game against the Patriots, was that 2015 when Gronk uncovered on the right side and they have all those things? Then the Patriots playoff game when they give up 48 points and Chris Hogan standing in the end zone making SOS signals to have Brady hit him for a 40-yard touchdown. And then, this game, the Jacksonville game, then the game last week and the game this week. It's like every damn week it's blown coverages and miscommunication. At some point, this is also on the players. I mean, look, it's not good coaching, clearly. I'm not giving the coaches a pass. But, my God, how dumb are these guys? You got to cover this space. You got to do this. And, guys running open through the field the whole game. And, again, credit to the Chiefs. They're good. Their offense is really good. But, man, if guys in the locker room are saying that crap, take some responsibility. Okay, let's talk about who stunk.
Well, you bring in Burnett, and you signed Burnett and Bostic because they're two veteran guys highly known for the communication skills.
They led the team in total tackles. I mean, I didn't hear Tuitt's name. I don't think I heard his name once that mattered. Certainly, Bud Dupree didn't do anything of note. T.J. Watt really was not a factor in this game. There's nobody on the defense. You're not going to say anybody played well. Nobody played well. They got smoked. They didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and they got torn apart in the linebackers in the secondary. So nobody had a good game. Juju had a pretty good game. Who knows what's going on with Antonio Brown? James Conner wasn't really a factor, and when you get behind 21-0 before you open your eyes. And Ben, but whatever. Ben was average. He missed some throws. He certainly made some plays to bring them back in this game, not getting the team to the line of scrimmage and moving faster at the end of the game. People can think that's not important. Absolutely, it's important.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out any true bona fide winners in this game for sure. Juju,
it's hard to go much past Juju. And Jesse James, you pointed out him at the top.
Yeah, Jesse. What about that block by Washington?
That was a good block. And it was get his shoulder, spun him around.
I love wide receivers that block. All right, we're
college TD, so good for him. He's on the board. And Rosie Nix caught a pass. And
okay. that was a great play call to Rosie Nix in that situation as well too. Okay, where are you on this team? Look, they've got to figure out a way to get Matthew Thomas on this field sooner rather than later. It's not going to hurt them, right?
Well, you don't have to figure a way. They know exactly how to do it. It's a question of
they got to get Matthew Thomas up to speed as soon as possible and start trying to get him on the field, at least get some more athleticism in the middle of the field there. They got to figure out a way. Let's find out if that guy's the answer quick, at some point here. Edmonds, look, he's a rookie. Troy Polamalu had a horrible rookie season, so don't throw Edmonds out with the bathwater just yet. Sean Davis didn't have a great game after a decent first game. Sean Davis.
He and Artie were good. No, he and Artie were not good.
The whole secondary, stunk it up for the most part in this game. You're right. Where was Tuitt in this game? Cam Hayward? I thought Cam Hayward was going to annihilate Cameron Irving in this game, and really we didn't hear outside of Cameron Hayward forcing the fumble and getting a pressure on one of those third downs late in the game that forced an incompletion. That's all we heard from Cameron Hayward in this game. So. Yeah, not good, especially defensively. Now the question is, you got who knew the Buccaneers are going to be 2-0 heading into this game?
Just 2-0. Let's talk. That's a good. They go into New Orleans and beat the Saints, and then they get the Eagles at home and they beat them. And Ryan Fitzmagic goes nuts in both these games. 8 touchdowns already. He throws for 400 more. Is there any reason to believe that the Bucs aren't going to put up 30 points on the Steelers?
I don't know what to think now. Yeah, you're right. These are 3 games that you couldn't fault anybody for having circled as W's for the Steelers, I don't think. I know I did. And now you're looking at this third game on a Monday night game. You're thinking, all right, there's no such thing as a must-win 3 weeks into the season. But
Steelers are favored by 2.5. Should they be favored in this game?
I don't know. But I mean, there's no such, like I said, there's no such thing as a must-win 3 weeks into the season. But oh Lord, to be 0-2-1 after 3 weeks, yikes.
Well,
Yeah.
0-2-1, and then
Then the Ravens, right?
you get the Ravens at home and you get the Falcons at home, and again, if you're 0-2-1 looking at the Ravens and the Falcons, you might really be looking at 1-3-1.
I mean, teams that start 0-3, Matt. I mean, you go back and look at history. What history has said.
Schedule's not that hard. That's the thing. The schedule isn't that hard.
Yeah, well, it's hard.
We didn't
enough.
think it was hard at the beginning.
Yeah, it's hard enough that they don't have a W yet. So,
yeah.
where are you on this team?
I think I've said this all along, and I tried to say this at the beginning of the season before the season started. I don't think this is I think this is a big risk for the Steelers team, and I always said injury was part of it, meaning they can't really afford to lose anybody. I think that look, I don't know that Hayden and DeCastro win the game, but DeCastro's been an All-Pro, and Hayden's been better than the other guys. So I think it does matter to some degree. I think this is still a very good offensive team. I don't know what the hell the situation is with Antonio Brown. I've said all along this team is worse defensively than last year, and it might be appreciably worse. You want to put it on Kevin Colbert, you want to put it on Mike, you want to put it on Keith Butler, you want to put it on Tom Bradley. I don't care. They're all responsible, and the players are responsible. And I absolutely expect the Bucs to put up 30 points on the Steelers this week.
Bucks, Ravens, Falcons, and Bengals before the bye.
Better win two of them, or if you don't win, you're probably done.
You better win at least your 2 division games, right? Against the Ravens and the Bengals. I mean, you can't. I mean, if you win. I mean, the games against Buccaneers and Falcons are out of conference. How if you're gonna lose any of them, you better lose one or two of those, right? You better win. You better win the game against the Ravens. At worst. What let's say their only wins are against the Ravens and the Bengals before the bye.
You're in it. I mean, whatever.
You're at least you're still in it division wise speaking, right?
So all you got to do is get to the playoffs.
So I went from thinking this team would be 5-0 to start the season to all right, maybe they could be 2-4 or 2-3-1?
2-2-1 for first 5-0 would be 2-2-1, right?
No, I'm talking now the first half of the bye, but before the bye, the first 6 games. I'm thinking, man, if you can get to 2-3-1 now, with 2 wins being against Baltimore and Bengals, maybe that's the win. Realistically, now you better be. I mean, you better be 3-2-1. At least heading into your bye with 2.
Well, we'll see. What's amazing is that Browns fans still probably feel worse today than Steeler fans.
Yeah, they let that.
Probably not a guy on the planet who had a worse night than Zane Gonzalez yesterday. Can you imagine your team's 132-1 and you have all this? I feel bad for the kid.
Check this out too about the Steelers' schedule, David. Not only do you have the Ravens and the Bengals right, in the next 4 weeks. You come out of the bye with games against the Browns and the Ravens. So
you're right. We're gonna know where this team is. 6 weeks from now. 7 weeks from now.
If you win all 4 of those divisional games, then you're in this thing for sure.
All right, now we're crystal ball gazing. Now,
all right. As always, you can express your hate on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow David Todd on Twitter at David M. Todd. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit that donate button, upper right navigational bar. We have a new ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. I had, I think, 3 more signups this weekend for it. $25 for a calendar year. You get an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com. A lot of people ask for that and are taking advantage of that as well, too. And until Wednesday, where I guess we're going to have some sort of a Buccaneers beat writer on.
Yeah, we'll find somebody. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Dave.